Welcome to Congregation Bet Ha'am's 2022 recorded Selichot service. I'm Jane Slovin, and I co-lead this service with Sharon Newman. There are readings and thoughts from Daniel Oppenheim and Joseph Pye. We were also helped by Chris Skidgel and his amazing technical skills. This year, assuming circumstances allow, Daniel Oppenheim will be leading an in-person Selichot service in the sanctuary. However, we know that some of you will feel more comfortable observing the holiday from home. So we are continuing to offer this service, which was recorded in 2020 and 2021, with a new introduction. Modern physics tells us that time and space are malleable. So the Kavanah is here, regardless of whether you're participating in person in the sanctuary or participating via this recording. Selichot offers us the opportunity to begin the process of returning to right relationship with ourselves and with the Holy One of Blessing. To become more comfortable with all aspects of forgiveness. Emphasis is placed on forgiving ourselves and forgiving others, though Rabbi Jill Bergson-Zimmerman's prayer, included in this service, for those not ready to forgive, makes clear that granting forgiveness is contingent on our timing, not the timing of the holidays. I wish you the opportunity for rectification and repair in your relationships, and if that is not possible this year, I wish you acceptance and peace. Thank you for joining us. This is a prayer from Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. She's generously offered to share many of her poems and prayers. They're really interchangeable, poems and prayers, from her book, See Me, Elul Poems. This is Act, Elul 2. I didn't have perfect faith. I didn't trust the world with my eggshell heart. I didn't notice each miraculous instant. I cut sandwiches into small triangles. I read about the little blue truck and the friendly tractor. I sang every night. I tried to say thank you even if the food were already in my mouth, even if the day were already underway by the time I blessed the coffee. What words did I inscribe in the book of memory? I wanted to write kindness more often than I scrawled impatience. I wanted to practice compassion when my son woke me, when traffic slowed me, when strangers smeared my inbox with anger. The camera is always rolling. Play back the year, snacking on popcorn with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. See what the record shows.
Why Selichot? Our rabbis and sages recognized that everything we do, if we are to do it well, requires preparation. All the more so when we are attempting to take full stock of our lives and our actions over the past year, to ask for forgiveness from those we have hurt and to forgive those who have hurt us. We are taught that we need to clear the decks before we can truly come before the Holy One of Blessing and beg for another year of life. The month of Elul is the month of preparation for Teshuvah, the process of turning and returning, intimately linked with forgiveness. The rabbis saw the parallel between the month of Elul plus the 10 days of awe and the 40 days Moses, our teacher, spent on Mount Sinai after shattering the first sacred tablets in response to the first great sin of idolatry of our people as they turned away from the Holy One, followed by the first great forgiveness, the second chance we were given when Moses returned to the people with the second tablets. Selichot, which itself means forgiveness, is the time set aside for the final preparatory push as we approach the celebration of the creation of the universe, Rosh Hashanah, and the confrontation and full acknowledgement of our mortality, Yom Kippur. The tools we are given to help us with this process are Psalm 27, a metaphor for the enemies within us, recited every day in Elul, and the sounds of the shofar, blown every day in Elul. Selichot adds Psalm 130, the recitation of the 13 attributes, Adonai's self-description, and multiple pleas for forgiveness. So here we are again, trying to achieve what we know we must if we are able to truly stand before the Eternal and plead our case. Psalm 27, a psalm for David. To the beloved, the infinite presence is my light and expanse. Who shall I fear? The infinite presence is the strength of my life. Who shall I dread? When forces come close, seeming to devour me, when narrowness threatens and opposition attacks, all that is menacing stumbles and falls. Even as an army of mistrust besieges me, my heart does not fear. Even as thoughts and desires rise up against me, I still have trust. One thing I ask of the infinite, one thing do I seek, to dwell in the presence all the days of my life, to awaken to the beauty of each moment as I pass through this world. The infinite shelters me as I encounter difficulty and pain. The infinite holds me close in deep and hidden places and lifts me high upon a rock. Now I can see through what is true. I will offer gifts of thanks, and I will sing and make music to the eternal. Please, Infinite One, listen to my voice. Hear my call. Be gracious with me. Answer me. You call to my heart, seek my presence. Your presence I seek. Please don't hide from me. Please don't let me turn away in anger. I long to serve. You are my help. Do not let me feel abandoned. Do not let me turn away. In you I am safe. For my mother and father have left me, and it is you who gathers me in. Teach me your ways. Guide me on the path of integrity. There is so much to lead me astray. Don't let me give in to all that torments me, the lies, the illusions, the menacing threats. I must have faith that I can see through all of this. I can see the good, the blessing, the ways of life. Cultivate hope in the infinite presence. Let your heart be strong and filled with courage. Cultivate hope.
This is C. Elul 10, again, from Rabbi Berenblatt. Beyond brand labels, beyond the face I learn to cultivate, beyond the words I drip like honey from an apple wedge, please just see me, see my missteps and love me anyway. Fiercely as the earth loves the star it circles, inexorably as the tide that rises and falls. On the mountain of God there is vision. I am seen, I am afraid. Made in your image, I see you everywhere when I open my eyes. This is our meditation on Hesed, loving kindness. This time of year, as we make teshuvah, we seek to open our hearts, which may have become closed in the past year. In the course of everyday life, it's easy to close our hearts. Many accumulated feelings can affect us. Anger, fear, frustration, resentment. And as they settle into our body, they can begin to place a certain kind of hardness around our hearts. It's a protective hardness. But at this time of year, when the focus is on asking for and receiving forgiveness, we have to open our hearts to be able to do that. In Jewish mysticism, we're taught that love is part of ongoing creation. It's one of the original divine essences, the Sefirot of Hesed, loving kindness. It's always available to us. We simply have to enter that stream of grace that is continually flowing into our world and open ourselves to it. So to begin, you might close your eyes if you're comfortable with that and sink back into a comfortable position. And you might just place your hand on your heart and begin to take a few breaths, maybe breathing in to a count of 4 and breathing out to a count of 4. And when you're ready, Imagine yourself breathing in loving kindness and breathing out loving kindness. As you inhale, visualize your heart softening. And as it softens, visualize Hesed, loving kindness coming from the Holy One of Blessing, flowing into your heart. Imagine your heart filling with loving kindness. As you inhale and exhale, you might visualize your heart softening further. You might imagine receiving love from others. And when you're ready, you might imagine sending love to others. Allow your heart to fill with feelings of loving kindness. Breathing it in. And as you exhale, you might let love pass through you and move beyond to those you know and care about, to those you would like to know and care about, and then to anyone you wish to bless with loving kindness. Our world can certainly benefit from loving kindness. And it would be wonderful if we were all messengers of loving kindness. Breathe in, radiating love. Breathe out, radiating love. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your toes and your fingers. Feel your feet on the floor. Open your eyes and return to the present moment.
אחת שאלתי את אדוני אותה אבקש אחת שאלתי את אדוני אותה אבקש שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי לעשות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו לעשות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. One thing I ask of my God, one thing that I desire. One thing I ask of my God, one thing that I desire is to live in the house of Adonai, all the days of my life, to behold the pleasantness of the beloved, to meditate in God's temple, to behold the pleasantness of the beloved, to meditate in God's temple. I die, da die, 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 I die, da die, 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 da die, die, da die, die, die. I die, da die, 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 I die, da die, 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 da die, 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 da die, 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 da die, 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 die.
I'm going to be talking about what we're doing here from a mystical perspective. What is Selichot? Well, first, mystics say that we don't just commemorate Jewish holidays. We have the opportunity to step through space and time and experience the original essence of what our ancestors experienced. We're piercing a veil between worlds. And what are the experiences that are relevant to Selichot, to these prayers for forgiveness, to our efforts to return? The first experience would be our mystical story of creation. The Holy One took up all of space, and she wanted a relational world. And to create it, she withdrew, leaving chaos and a void. But into that void, she emanated 10 holy qualities in vessels. And in that first attempt, the vessels did not come out in a relational matrix, and 7 of them shattered, sending sparks and shards into our world. So the Holy One of Blessing created new vessels and emanated them in a complex web of relationship with multiple pathways between them. They form the tree of life. They hold the Selichot, which emanate her holy qualities into our world. And they're continuously beaming those divine qualities. 3 of them are essential in helping us make teshuvah. Chokhmah, wisdom; Bina, understanding; and Hesed, loving kindness and compassion. There is another ancestral experience relevant to Selichot, and that is the consequence of Moses' anger at the Israelites for building the golden calf. He expressed his anger by throwing down the tablets that God had created, and they shattered. Afterward, Moses returned to the mountain to seek God's forgiveness. And our mystics tell us that Moses and the Holy One of Blessing worked together to create the second set of tablets. They were so intimate that when Moses asked if he could see God's face, God told Moses to hide in the cleft of a rock, and that God would pass before him. As God passed before Moses, she gave a self-description, which is comprised of the 13 attributes. That is the formula we recite to receive God's forgiveness. And we'll chant the 13 attributes tonight and throughout the holidays. Our life experiences are patterned on this kind of a template. Change is often precipitated by shatterings, losses, health challenges, relational ruptures, and the unending hurdles inherent in living in a body on this planet. But it's important that we see these challenges held in the context of holiness. We always make mistakes. We intentionally or unintentionally hurt each other. We behave badly. Our lives shatter sometimes through no fault of our own. They shatter like the original Selichot, and they shatter like the first set of tablets. Yet, the Holy One re-emanated those Selichot in new vessels, linked by a web of interconnected pathways. And the Holy One recreated the tablets. The shattered tablets were said to have been put in the ark with the second set. And those shards and sparks that fell into our world are the things that we collect in our efforts to rectify and heal the world. We can pick up the pieces. We can find holiness in our struggles. We can trust that even if we don't understand the mysteries of life, they are part of a plan. They are part of God's plan. We can make rectification. We can change our direction, and we can find wholeness. This is the season. However far we fall, we can return. And we have tremendous help right now. The tree of life is emanating God's holy qualities to us in continuous streams of light, in Shefa, in grace. We're surrounded by Hesed, loving kindness. It's emanating with particular intensity right now to aid us in our efforts to make teshuvah. And our mystics tell us that in the process of healing ourselves and each other, we contribute to the healing of the world. This is a poem by Maine poet Jenny Doughty, generously offered to us for this service. It's entitled Love in the One Particle Universe. And Jenny's description at the beginning of the poem is this: the one electron universe postulate states that all electrons and positrons are actually manifestations of a single unity, moving backwards and forwards in time. And here's the poem. Every poem, my sweet, is a letter to the universe. Sings a love song, whether we know it or not, even when it weeps for loss of love. Rages at betrayal, comforts with apples. A poem says, I am here. I feel. I think. I am a part. And you and I are the universe in the very scatter of our atoms. One particle weaving itself in a tangled knot across space-time. So when our moments slice across the threads, their meeting is real for that fleeting instant, making us one being with the stars and each other. So our petitions, paeans of praise, lamentations, love songs, observations of all life's jeweled details. The flash of beetle's wing, bud, green, and turn of leaves, the wheeling galaxies themselves, and even this poem are soliloquies.
Shiviti Havaya Lenegi Tamid Shiviti Havaya Lenegi Tamid Havaya, 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 Ahava, 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 Havaya, 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 Ahava, 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 Shiviti Havaya Lenegi תמיד שיוויתי הוויה לנגדי תמיד.
The 13 attributes are God's self-description, the description that the Holy One of Blessing gave to Moses as Moses sequestered himself in the cleft of the rock and the Holy One passed before him.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha, V'Chata V'Nakei. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha, V'Chata V'Nakei. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha, V'Chata V'Nakei.
This is another poem from Rachel Barenblatt from Simi Elul Poems entitled Learn, Elul 15. Sun, can you teach me to gild everything I see? Leaves, how to flutter with awe. Ground beneath my feet, don't let me go yet. I want to learn gravity. Lenses in frames, I want to learn not to mistake glass for the view. And you convince me that trying to be good is enough. That lesson keeps eluding me. Source of mercy, untie my tangles. Help me to learn when to hold on, when to let go.
Dee dee die lo, hi die lo. Dee die lo, hi die lo. Dee die lo, die lo, hi die lo. Dee die lo, hi die lo. Dee die lo, die אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תתיר צרורה, תתיר צרורה, קבל רינת עמך, סגבנו תורנו נורא. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תתיר צרורה, תתיר צרורה, קבל רינת עמך, סגבנו תורנו נורא.
This is a prayer for Selichot from Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. Compassionate One, remember, we are your children. Help us to know again that we are cradled during these awesome days of changing light. We want to return to your lap, to your arms. Remind us how to believe that we are loved, not for our achievements, but because we are yours. As the moon of Elul wanes and the new year rushes in, hear us with compassion. Enfold us. Don't let us go. This is a new translation of Psalm 130 by Rabbi Yael Levi from Mishkan Shalom, and a way in, directing the heart through Jewish meditation. A song of ascents. Out of the depths I call to you, Infinite One. Please listen to my voice. Please hear my pleas as I humble myself. If we were only our misdeeds, who could possibly stand? For with the you, source of all, is forgiveness. We are in awe. I place my hope in the unfolding mystery. My entire being hopes. I wait with openness and hope for the divine presence. My soul yearns for the presence among those who yearn for the dawn, among all those who yearn for the dawn. Let us wait and hope for the one. For with the one is great love and redemption. The one will free us of all our wrongdoings. Let us look toward all that will be with hope. This is Rachel Barenblatt from Simi, Elul Poems, entitled Forgive, Elul 13. All my excuses, acting as though I mattered more than you do. The times when I pretended I couldn't see you. The days when I didn't bother wrapping my hand in the memory of our connection. Not my changes. We both know standing still isn't a real option. But the things I didn't say, letting myself pretend I had time enough to dally, as though this rise and fall would last forever. And this is a prayer for those not ready to forgive. It was written by Rabbi Jill Berkson Zimmerman. The weight of this season compels us to forgive and to open our hearts. There are too many among us who have endured deep hurts this year, and some from many years ago. Some of us are not sure of the path forward, amidst the prayers and pleadings of Yom Kippur to wipe the slate clean and start anew. for the woman who was violated, and for the man beaten down, and for anyone with a broken heart or a crushed soul who might not be quite ready to forgive. It's okay. Take your time. Sometimes the timetable of the high holy days doesn't match the rhythm of your heart. Sometimes our devoted prayers get intermingled with inner voices not quite resolved, such as, maybe it wasn't all that bad. Just let go. Let bygones be bygones. Be the bigger person. Or, maybe I'm being too sensitive. This year, love yourself enough to trust your own timing. Be patient enough to stay in the place of not yet. You commit to the work of resolution, not being attached to an outcome or timetable. Trust that you will find your way forward, that you will come to a time where holding on hurts more than letting go. Forgive yourself for not being yet ready. From that place of total acceptance, may you have faith that the path will open up. This is our Selichot meditation on receiving and offering forgiveness. And you might begin by allowing yourself to settle into a very comfortable position. Sitting back in your chair, resting on a couch, whatever will work best for you to enter a relaxed state. And you might close your eyes. Good. And you might begin by taking several deep breaths, following the rising and the falling of your breath. The rise and the fall, allowing those breaths to be easy and effortless. Good. And as we prepare to offer forgiveness, you might imagine God's loving presence surrounding you and protecting you. Call upon Hesed, loving kindness, to wrap around you like a prayer shawl. And when you're ready, breathe in loving kindness and compassion, and breathe out loving kindness and compassion. And you might begin to feel, or at least imagine, releasing resentments and anger, allowing your heart to soften and open. Breathing in loving kindness and compassion. Breathing out loving kindness and compassion. Our tradition is realistic and kind. Our tradition anticipates that we will make mistakes, that we will fail in our relationships and our endeavors, as well as succeed. And we're given the gift of this season every year to make amends, to give and receive forgiveness, to start anew, knowing we might make the same mistakes again next year or different ones, and again have the opportunity to make teshuvah. Breathe in loving kindness and compassion, and breathe out loving kindness and compassion. And allow yourself to take in the understanding that we are each of us holy beings. And though our actions may not always be holy, our essence is holy. This new year will give us another opportunity to strive to make our actions match our essence. Now, as we journey through memories of this past year, you might begin to think of someone whose behavior has been hurtful to you. A word, a deed, unconsciously or consciously, intentionally or inadvertently, something that damaged or ruptured your relationship. You might allow yourself to feel some of the pain from that experience to whatever extent is feasible for you right now, in this time and place. And as you do so, breathe in loving kindness and compassion, and breathe out loving kindness and compassion. As you allow your memories to flow, you might allow your heart to open and soften to whatever extent is possible. And begin to imagine now or in the future offering forgiveness. We're creating an opening for forgiveness. We're allowing compassion to fill our hearts. We may or may not be ready to forgive, but we can seed the ground. Good. Now let that go. Fill yourself with a sense of the presence of the Holy One of Blessing, and wrap yourself in a prayer shawl of Hesed, divine loving kindness. Now, as we journey through memories of this past year, you might begin to think of someone whom you have hurt, by word or by deed, consciously or unconsciously, deliberately or inadvertently. Let yourself begin to recognize the hurt you may have caused, to whatever extent is feasible for you right now, in this time and place. As you bring this to mind and roam over the details, breathe in loving kindness and compassion, and breathe out loving kindness and compassion. You might allow your heart to open and soften to whatever extent is possible. Let compassion fill your heart, compassion for yourself in that situation, at that time and place, and begin to imagine asking the person whom you've hurt to forgive you. We're creating an opening for forgiveness. We may or may not be ready to ask for it, but we can plant seeds in the ground. Good. Now let that go and fill yourself with the presence of the Holy One of Blessing. Wrap yourself in a prayer shawl of Hesed, divine loving kindness. Now, as we again journey through memories of this past year, you might consider the ways in which you have failed yourself, consciously or unconsciously, deliberately or inadvertently. As you let your mind roam over these situations, breathe in loving kindness and compassion, and breathe out loving kindness and compassion. You might allow your heart to open and soften and begin to imagine forgiving yourself. We're creating an opening for forgiveness. We're allowing compassion and loving kindness to fill our hearts. We may or may not be ready to forgive ourselves, but we can plant seeds in the ground. Good. Now let that go and fill yourself with a sense of the presence of the Holy One of Blessing. Wrap yourself in a prayer shawl of Hesed, divine loving kindness. Good. Now, as we journey through memories of the past year, bring to mind your relationship with the Holy One of Blessing. Are there ways in which that relationship has struggled or lapsed? Are you angry with God? Have you disconnected from an awareness of holiness permeating life, its joys, its pleasures? Has suffering caused you to disconnect from trust in God's presence? Breathe in loving kindness and compassion, and breathe out loving kindness and compassion. Let compassion fill your heart. Compassion for yourself through the events of this past year. You might begin to open and soften your heart to whatever extent is possible right now, and begin to widen the pathway for your relationship with God. We may not yet be ready to widen the pathway, but we can plant seeds. Good. Now let that go. Fill yourself with a sense of the presence of the Holy One of Blessing. Wrap yourself in a prayer shawl of Hesed, divine loving kindness, and know that the next 10 days will offer you many more opportunities to seed the ground and reap the harvest.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu Kekedem, Ashivenu, Ashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu Kekedem, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu Kekedem.
Sounds of the shofar. On Rosh Hashanah, we are commanded to hear the voice of the shofar, the Shmoah Kol Shofar. It is the tradition to hear the shofar every day during the month of Elul to prepare us to experience the message of the shofar during the days of awe. What does it mean to hear the voice of the shofar? Quantum physics tells us that sound communicates information through waves. The shofar communicates through sound and vibration. When we let the shofar sounds penetrate our bodies, minds, and spirits, we can truly hear its message. There are 3 sounds of the shofar. The first sound, Tekiah, which communicates this: I am whole. I am made in the image of the Holy One. I know there's an underlying unity in the universe. Shevarim, which communicates this. There have been many times in my life when I felt broken. I have felt separate. I've been unable to feel the presence of the Holy One. Teruah, which communicates this. There have been many times in my life when I felt utterly shattered. Our goal is to return to Tekiah, to wholeness, because that is our innate state. It is the unified field of all life, all beings and all things. It is the oneness at the center of all life, the unity emanated into our world from the Holy One of Blessing. This year, may the sounds of the shofar reconnect us with God.
Forgiveness. So this process, Selichot, is about forgiveness and the questions that raises within each one of us. Who among those who have wounded us can we forgive? Of whom can we ask for forgiveness for the wounds we have caused? From whom can we even expect forgiveness? We need to consider and act upon these questions if we can claim the right to ask forgiveness of Adonai. Ultimately, it may be much more difficult to forgive those who have hurt us deeply than to ask to be forgiven by God. But forgiveness is a very difficult and often painful business. The greatest clearing of the decks may occur with forgiving what seem like small, apparently insignificant slights. Or it may require letting go of the truly deep wounds, either inflicted now, ongoing in our lives, or inflicted long ago, but whose pain we carry, more consciously or less consciously, in a way that prevents us from achieving true teshuvah. I mean parents, now or when we were young, siblings, mean, hurtful teachers, bullies on the playground, neighbors, work colleagues, bosses, abusers, perpetrators of all kinds, some still living, some long dead, those who have inflicted such profound injuries that the pain has become so deeply embedded, we seem to have become utterly hardened to even the possibility of forgiveness. A pain we hold onto so tightly that we feel we cannot even live without it. It is not even clear what forgiveness means. Does it mean that we must achieve some kind of relationship with those we are attempting to forgive? The point is not to make them change. The point is for us to change. If a relationship flowers from our process of forgiveness, wonderful. But this is not necessary at all for teshuvah. Forgiveness might only mean acceptance of the reality of the wound with no expectation to make it right. Much has been written about forgiveness, but I always come back to this from Lama Surya Das. Forgiveness means letting go of the hope for a better past. Forgiveness means letting go of the hope for a better past.
This is a poem by Ann Porter from her book Living Things, published by Zolan Books. It's entitled A Short Testament. Whatever harm I may have done in all my life, in all your wide creation, if I cannot repair it, I beg you to repair it. And then there are all the wounded, the poor, the deaf, the lonely, and the old, whom I have roughly dismissed as if I were not one of them, and cannot make amends. I ask you to comfort them to overflowing. And where there are lives I may have withered around me, or lives of strangers near and far, that I've destroyed in blind complicity, and if I cannot find them or have no way to serve them, remember them. I beg you to remember them. When winter is over and all your unimaginable promises burst into song on death's bare branches. And this is a poem by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt from 70 Faces Torah Poems, entitled, And Here We Are. But what about us, listening to this tale again, wishing for the 100th time that our ancestors weren't so familiar, sometimes petty and sometimes kind, walking awestruck through a world where God's presence is always manifest. In this season of turning and returning, we long for heroes. We want to be able to say, I take after my parents with uncomplicated pride. But that's not how it goes. Our forebears had marriages and children, relationships and arguments. Sometimes they missed even the widest of marks. All we can do is tell their stories around our campfire, around our festival table, polished Kiddush cup, hollow round as the moon. All we can do is pray for a year as sweet as mother's milk, a year when we don't make the same mistakes for the millionth time, or when we do, resolve not to wait until next Rosh Hashanah to seek forgiveness. All we can do is remember.
ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.